What's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, right? Like I'm on some Mr. Rogers shit, but it is what it is. This is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my co-host Richard Williams. Chuck is on a bereavement, and Kevin is playing with his kids. He'll be in with a little later. You know the routine. If you like it, subscribe to it. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook, whomever you're watching it from, share it and let them know that you're a supporter of Real Talk Chronicles. We appreciate you all and the things that you do with us and for us. With that being said, the show is always sponsored by the Deadly Arts Magazine. It's on Amazon. I think they're up to their fifth edition. Ingram Taxes, tax season. Listen, I think 2 more days, right? Ingram Taxes, they'll do your taxes. Soft Illusions Art Gallery. Uh, can't forget Reggie Wells, Quality Sound, right? He sells these for $85. If you can mention Real Talk Chronicles, he'll give them to you for $75. Got to mention Real Talk Chronicles. Shout out to Melba Wilson. Happy birthday to Melba. The show is also sponsored by Melba Wilson, a soul food restaurant, and Leon Ellis Chocolat Restaurant, and Harlem Underground, his clothing line. Shout out to everybody chiming in. What's up, Carl? What's up, Stefania? Hey, Diane. What's up? Boston's in the house. So listen, Rich,
Yes, sir.
first and foremost, everybody, let me ask my man Richard Williams, how's he doing today, brother?
Well, you know my saying. I woke up with the choice and the chance.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. You know, what's up, Curtis? Ollie is in the building. How you feeling, Ollie? There's some stuff that we got to talk about. We have a little young man, 10-year-old boy. I want to, when Kevin comes, we'll show the footage, being arrested for stealing a bag of chips in Syracuse. People felt that he was a little, I think, everybody, you tell us what you're feeling. Colin, what's going on? Uh, Brenda, hey, Sister Brenda. Thought that the little boy was being a little rough. They were a little rough with the little boy. Uh, the mayor, who has COVID, please be careful, everybody. When they was interviewing him during the bombing of the train and the shooting of the train, I should say, more or less the bombing, the shooting of the train, they interviewed him and they asked him, what did he, how did he feel? They said during that day, there was 12 people shot. Hey, Terry, what's going on? There were 12 people shot that day. And they asked him what was his, thought process and how was he feeling about things. And he said, he referenced, where is Black Lives Matter, due to the fact that people with black and brown people are getting shot. And he was like, well, where does Black Lives Matter during this situation? I personally, I was like, wow, like you mentioning Black Lives Matter. Hey, Taylor, what's going on? Tramel, what's going on? And I always extend the olive branch to anybody. Anybody ever wants to join our conversation, you're more than welcome. And he kind of came at Black Lives Matter kind of hard. I personally felt like it was uncalled for. I'm a big supporter of the mayor. It's my man. He's been on the show when he was running his campaign. Stefania said they say they didn't arrest him. They took him to his father because they are familiar with the family. All right, we'll definitely get into that. So, um, people still getting shot. Happy birthday to everybody that's chiming into that. Frank the cameraman is his birthday. Also, to it, his niece was laid to rest. He had got uh, hit. Rich, the car it hit, jumped a curb or something, right? I think is that what happened?
Yeah. What you talking about the incident on 145th Street?
Yes.
Yeah. What happened that day, from my understanding, is that some guy was driving across from the Bronx coming to Manhattan and suffered some kind of medical incident while driving. I don't know whether it was a stroke, a heart attack, something, and he slammed into the bus stop where um, the mother and the son were waiting for the bus, and just devastated. You know, I mean, it was terrible. I was out there that morning, after the fact. They had already taken the mother and daughter to the hospital, and at that moment they said it didn't look good. But it's a terrible accident, man. You never know from one day to the next, man. I mean, it's just crazy, man.
Yeah, it definitely is, brother. It definitely is. So respect and prayers to that family uh, for what they're going through in the grieving process. Uh, Shout out to everybody chiming in. Jacob, you definitely mentioned the taxes. Tom Zane is in the building. Cheryl said, "When did this happen?" Um,
I think about 3 weeks ago now.
yeah.
About 3 weeks ago. Hold on a second. I'll be right back.
Yes. So everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster. So yeah, there's a lot, certain things going on. What do you all want to talk about tonight? Like I said, I know we want to talk about that little boy in Syracuse, 10 years old. A lot of people have feelings about that. What's your take on what happened? She said, Stefani said, did you guys also see the Queens woman that was stabbed 60 times in her house, then dragged a few blocks and left on the side of the jack? No, I didn't see that. Um, What's up, Robert Davis? What's up? Income taxes is in the building. Like I said, everybody, any taxes, please. Income taxes. Jacob, put the income taxes in the comments so people can see what that is. I guess Rich is over there cooking something. You heard all that. He microwaving it. We got you.
I'm cooking some spaghetti squash.
Oh, there he is with that squash, everybody. Rich love his squash. You know what I'm saying? So
got to eat healthy, man. You don't get to be 62 without it.
That's what's up, brother. That's what's up. So, Rich, did you hear about the little the 10-year-old boy that got arrested in Syracuse?
No, tell me.
Oh wow. Well, I would love to show this video. Like, Ben, hurry up. Let me stop. It was a 10-year-old boy supposedly stole a bag of potato chips, and it seems like the people in the neighborhood, whomever were around, felt like they were a little abrasive with him, a little rough with him, and I think they felt that because he was black, that if he was white, they wouldn't have treated him like that. And then Stefania just said they did. They say they didn't arrest him. They just took him to his father because they are familiar with the family. I don't know all the details with that. Like I said, if we had the video, we would talk about it. You don't have the video? No, we would have to Google it. Stefania also said, did you hear about, I don't know, Rich, did you hear about this woman that got stabbed 60 times in Queens and it was dragged a few blocks and left at the Jackie Robinson? Wow.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Her body got dumped on the Jackie Robinson Highway.
Wow.
And if I'm not mistaken, that guy who did that was her first cousin. If I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah, just a terrible situation, everybody. Like, please be careful. You know, when we talk about stuff like that, everybody, you have to come to the realization that certain things are just not worth it, like road rage, arguing with people nowadays. Like, I know a lot of people feel like they got mouths. Sometimes you just can't mouth off with people anymore because it's obviously that you see men have no regards for women anymore. They don't have any regards for other men, so they don't have any regards for women. So we don't know the details. I think I heard an officer got shot in Yonkers. Didn't you tell me that, Malika? Yeah. So an officer got shot. So I don't know if he's likely or not. Just sending prayers to him and his family and things of that magnitude. There's so much going on in this world, man. It really is. You know, What you want to chop it up about, brother Rich? Anything that's on your mind? What's up, Bobby Riello, my old
Uh,
Narco Ranger? Hey, Gwen. Her husband was away with uh, who called the cops on the kid? I don't know, Colin. I don't know if it was a store or the store owner. I don't have any other details with that. No, Rich. They said they don't know who did it, but they say they have three men of interest. So, Stefania, you were on it. What's up, Robert? He says that woman found in the hockey bag. Stefania, I don't know. Do you know anything if where she was found? Or she was found in the hockey bag. Cheryl says, I believe it was the store owner that called on the kid. Darren Joseph said he was not arrested or handcuffed. They took him and his bike home. The father, after seeing the video, is now thinking of legal actions. Wow. Stefania said, because her husband was away, but on her phone, they said she had contact with three other men. Hmm. Wow. Also, there was I think, like a little mass shooting. I think was that in, I don't know if that was in South Carolina, something like that. There was, let's see.
well,
Uh,
I just got a text from my lady Brenda, and she said that it was all right for me to mention what happened to her last Friday.
oh, absolutely.
Um, I was at an event at Jackie Robinson Park. They had a ceremony for Jackie Robinson at Jackie Robinson Park on Bradhurst and 147th Street. But while I
Mhm.
was there, Brenda was walking from 125th Street on 8th Avenue alongside of her neighbor and her neighbor's husband. And she got to 131st Street, and two guys started shooting at each other. And it was crazy because she had to drop down on the ground and to avoid getting shot, you know. And it's a crazy thing. Um, Fortunately, both people were arrested. The guy that got shot and the guy that did the shooting. So that was a good thing. But it's something I was saying to her is that we living in the street. I mean, in the city, and you got to be aware of your surroundings at all times. You know, there's no place that you should go without being conscious of what's going on around you. You know,
Hmm.
as a kid, I got robbed once when I was 16 years old, and it was only because I wasn't paying attention to what was going on around me. You know, and after that occurred, I said, "There's never going to be a time where I'm not fully aware of my surroundings and what's going on." And I say to people nowadays, I say, if you walk in and you observe a group of guys that don't look right, like there's an argument going on, cross the street. You know, don't walk through that. Don't walk that way. You know, it's just certain things you got to be conscious of so you can avoid them. I mean, stuff happens. I mean, like the thing that happened to the young lady that got hit by the car. Nobody could have saw that. You know, and even being you like trying to look at what's going on, that was something that just was a freak of nature type thing. But these kids are out here, and some of them, most of them, really, most of them ain't even kids. They grown men. They out here and they just acting with reckless abandonment. They don't even care, you know, who gets shot, who gets hurt, while they're missing who they're supposedly trying to get, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's a shame, man. I mean, the whole fact of the matter, it's a shame that somebody wants to take another person's life, but trying to take another person's life, you don't care whose life you take that's not even a part of it. And that's crazy, you know. And everybody is talking about, oh, you know, what they're gonna do with this stop and frisk. It's gonna be like this, it's gonna be like that. I mean, something gotta give. I mean, if the neighborhood ain't gonna police itself, the police gotta do it. Because when I was a kid, our community, we policed ourselves. You know, the older guys in the neighborhood, and those are the hustlers. They made sure the community was safe. That
Absolutely.
your mother, everybody's parents could walk those streets. You know, And the police really policed them. There was never a mistake of somebody getting shot by the police, you know, not back then, because the community policed itself. So when they talk about this whole defund the police, a lot of people hear that, and I believe they take it out of context, you know, because when they talk about defunding the police, what I'm thinking about is not so much defund the police, redirect some of the funds to deal with programming, different kinds of organizations that can help kids stay out of trouble. And for the most part, we got a group of guys that really lost. They ain't, you know, they in God's hands. They may never come back from the dark side. But what we want to do is cut that root off so they won't grow no more seeds from that plant.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So the focus should be on trying to save kids so they don't get involved with that kind of shit. You know? And those kids that do want to change their life, there's a program for them, you know? And that's, to me, that's where redirecting some funds go to. And I don't think it's necessary to defund the police. I think the mindset and the plan that the mayor has, you know, if he does it the way it's supposed to sound, you know, it could work, you know. But we dealing with human beings, you know. Nobody's perfect. Mistakes are going to be made.
Yeah, I feel you on that. Let me just read some comments. Taylor said, people are up in arms about the Syracuse incident. The kid stole a bag of chips. Stealing is wrong. The police put him in the car and took him home to his father. Now the father is upset after seeing the video. He wasn't arrested. They took him home. That's called community policing. In a time where we have 12 to 13-year-olds committing violent crimes, mainly against the elderly, hopefully this will be a deterrent for him not to steal again. People need to stop co-signing bad behavior. Yeah, shout out to everybody. I see you, Nathan Ingram. Nathan Ingram, everybody, is the creator of the Daily Arts magazine. Him and his son, Jacob, is Jacob Taxes, Ingram Taxes. And Nathan Ingram's my big brother, my brother. I appreciate you. I love you. He's also a sponsor of this show. Like I said, it's the #1 martial arts magazine, and it's a Black creator of that magazine, and it's on Amazon. So definitely support that brother. Colin said, if the store owner called the cops on the kid for stealing a bag of chips, then it doesn't deserve to have a store in the neighborhood. Boycott, shut them down.
I'm total agreement with that. And that's what I was going to chime in on with. I'm glad she said that, because a kid that's taking a bag of potato chips, how does it even get to the police? I mean, what part is the store owner invested in his community that if a kid needs a bag of chips, that he would steal it? If I was a store owner and the store owners that I grew up with in my community, that wouldn't happen. They would have made you work for them chips. They would have did something for you to be able to get those chips, keep them, and work for it. Or just straight up give them to you and say, you don't have to steal from me, just ask me for it. So how did it get to the police? I mean, that store, I didn't see the video, but that store eats off of the community in which that kid got arrested, right? Where's the give back to the community? And I'm not saying condoning any kind of stealing or anything, but there's a teachable moment when stuff like that happens, you know?
Okay, so let me ask you a question now. We all grew up, depending on your age, we all grew up with a village. And I totally co-sign what you saying. And it's so funny, this is a multiple co-sign signature, because I agree with Taylor saying, and I also understand what Colin is saying. Because everybody in my community knows, to this day, the corner store, everybody knows him, right? Now, I know this man, and I'm just using this man, Pedro, as an example. Excellent man, him and his family, hardworking Latin man. I could see him, if a kid was to steal something, to say, yo, you don't have to steal, right? I see him being a good man, right? Now, I don't know if this kid comes in the store all the time and steals. So now we got a double-edged sword here. You know, do you offer this kid a job, or do you say to this little kid, listen, you just come in here all the time and you stealing because you think you can? I don't know the particulars with this little boy, but the bottom line is, it seemed like the way the officers were portraying the video is that he has a history, right? I mean, anybody out here correct me if I'm wrong with that. So Taylor says also, so it's okay to go into someone's establishment and take what you want. Maybe the store owner was fearful of his safety. Today's kids are carrying guns. Uh, Brenda, I think, agreed with you. Taylor, I think she was replying to Colin. She was saying you are talking about a totally different time, or she's maybe talking to you. Bottom line, kids are carrying guns now. So Colin is feeling shut them down. Carl is also saying, in the eyes of the Lord, theft is anything taken without permission. Stefania said, I agree, Bill, because if the cops know the family, that right there says a lot. So look, we're going to have to look into a lot of particulars with this little boy. But I'm with you like I tell people, our era and the people that's watching in Real Talk, and I'm assuming their children have understood what it's like to have a village. This generation now is villageless. You know, they don't want to be part of a village. The only part of the village they want to be part of is the borough that they come from or the block that they rep. But it's nothing positive. You know, I don't see the kids playing sports. And like, going back to, like you said, the funding the police and stuff, I definitely don't agree with that. But, what happened to the PALs? What happened to the after school programs? Let me tell you something. A kid in our era, if his parents, he would stay after school and do his homework and do activities like part of the basketball team, gymnastics, exercise. The after school program looked after people. Then I remember growing up, they called this a little young adult club, and you had to spend like $2 to join the membership. But every Friday night you could go there and play basketball and listen to music. It was Our Lady of Lords. Shout out to Laverne White. He implemented that, and he was the man on the scene, the adult supervisor. And we would go, and we could play from, I guess, 8 to 10 or something like that. Or I don't know the times, but we were there, and it was young adult. I don't see that anymore. Now, when it comes back to the policing, there's a certain, like I said, we can go talk about that. There's a certain mentality where officers have, you know what I'm saying, and they try not to act like that. They try to act like they are fair, but you can't be fair when you have prejudices. We all have to understand that. And when people take these tests and apply for the job, anybody out here that's interviewed for a job knows that they are on their good behavior. You're not interviewing for a job and somebody say how you feel. You'll be like, yo, I don't really give a F. You know what I'm saying? Because you ain't gonna tell that man in a year when you tell me to do something, I'm gonna tell you I don't want to do it. And you're gonna be like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not gonna do that extra work. Because when we go for a job, we say all the right things. And that's the same thing with the police department or any law enforcement agency. They go in there and they tell you all the right things that you want to hear. And even when they take that ridiculous psychological test, that right now it was back then, it was just a way to wean out people of color. You know what I'm saying? So when we talk about it has to be, I always say we need more inner city kids. I've always said that. I was the prototype, and I'm not trying to toot a horn, but I was a prototype officer from the community. I grew up in Harlem. I worked in Harlem until I wanted to advance my career, and I never had those kind of problems in Harlem. I knew what, like, really, like a little kid, $25 a bag of, 25 cents bag of potato chips at that time. That's what, I don't know what chips cost now, 99 cents. Who knows, right?
$2.
Yeah. It seemed like $2 in a bag of air, right? And 17 chips, right? See, maybe a police officer today can't say, what's wrong with your little bad ass? You know what I'm saying? Because now somebody's going to take that. So what do we do? Now, I get it. If this is some person that, like you, Colin, now here's to your point. If this is somebody in the community that just is there to reap the money of our community, no matter what his ethnicity is, Arab, African, Spanish, African American, white, whatever. If you're just there taking the money of the community and you know this kid, because really, is a bag of potato chips really gonna make you break you that day? It's not. It's really not. But the problem is, you know, it's a slippery slope. Now, what's the repercussions? If the store owner grabs him and grabs his kid and takes the chips back, and they get in, and the little kid goes and tells his big brother that may be part of a clique, or go tells his father, and he come back and he shoots up the store. What is it? What somebody out here, please tell me, what does a store owner to do when it comes to that now? You understand what I'm saying? Do you just take it on the chin and say, go ahead, take the bag of potato chips? Um, I don't know. The officers in that video, like I said, when Kevin comes, he'll definitely cue it up. I thought he was going to be here, but like I said, he did. Then he told me later. He told us that he was going to be a little late, so I didn't prepare for that.
But can I say something about that?
Absolutely.
Because I heard some of the comments, like this is a different time and all of that, and that these are different kids, and we can't keep putting all the blame on these kids, because we as grown folks have stepped away from our responsibility to our neighborhood and our young kids coming up. You can't expect to have a dialogue with some kid, because he did something wrong, and expect that to be good. You have to develop a relationship with that same kid long before something bad happens. Where I'm at, all those guys that's in the street like that, we have a different respect for each other. I don't wait till they're in trouble or they doing something wrong for me to step to them. I step to them just on GP. Every day I come out, I got some messages for, yo, what's up, man? Come here, let me holler at you. Did you get in that school? You still trying to do this? What's your end game in this hustle game? Where do you see yourself, years from now, and what you're doing? That's my conversation with them. I'm not trying to bash them in the head, but I'm having a conversation with them like I'm their father, and not a disciplinary father, a concerned father trying to show some love and concern about that individual. And I invest that time in individuals, separate dudes that I see that are at risk. And my resume speaks for itself, because I've gotten a lot of dudes off the corner. I got them in Job Corps, when they was ready. I got them in different situations where they reached out to me, and I was able to do that for them.
But Rich, let me just say this, and I commend you for that. And I try to talk to the kids in the community, and then as your lady Brenda knows, we've are part of an organization. I'm part of the Sledge Group. I'm part of Blue Nile. I've spoke to the kids at Menacing. I forgot what their organization thing, the Feathers. I forgot their organization. I've gone around the schools in the tri-state area and speak to them, not on career day, but just on any given time that I'm called. So I've built my resume.
I know that about you.
No, I'm not saying
that it's not enough. It's not enough of us.
No, I agree with you, but what I'm trying to say is that I'm a firm believer that I'm with you where the parents on this. I get that, and I'm saying that, but we had parents at a time that even if they worked two jobs, because some people out here had parents that worked two jobs just to put a dollar on the table or some food on the table, but they had somebody else at the time that was able to monitor their children, the next door neighbor, because they hung with the kid, their child went to school together, and she was like, okay, Sharon, I got you. Or, you and I, if we saw a kid or our parents saw a kid hanging out in the street, we would be like, yo, and I'll tell a real story right here. And I'm going to read some of the comments, everybody. My childhood friend, which was a melting pot of people, Latins and African Americans and stuff like that. Close friend of mine. One day we ran each other in the street, and because I always tell people, your childhood friends are like your tier one friends, and now you're adults. Sometimes you don't really speak to them. Maybe you may just check in on each other in text. So I ran into him in the street, and we was talking, And I was just like, yo, like, what's good? Like, kind of like, what's happening to you? Like, you was the man, like that song, like, damn, homie, you was the man, homie. And he just talked about his childhood, and we started conversing on the corner, 144th and Broadway. And he told me that he didn't even know if he was getting a meal at home at night sometime. He was like, that white t-shirt you saw, he may have had a few of those. They was washed multiple times and stuff like that. And he said the reason why he hung out at night, and he was like, yo, as a kid, there was no reason when we went home, there was nobody at home for him to tell him to come home. And nobody cared if he came upstairs. And I said to him, I said, yo, dude, why didn't you come to my house or any of the other, our crew, our house? You would have got a meal. Nobody would have left you outside. Embarrassment.
Shame, yeah.
Shame, right? Now, he's all effed up in the head to a certain degree. What did he do? He ran off to the military. He came back worse than, and when I say effed up, he came back worse. I thought he went away doing good because he would do the job thing in school. I guess because his grades weren't that good. And then I guess, yo, it's not a career, it's a venture. You know what I'm saying? He runs to the service. He comes back to my house. He's sitting there and he goes through some kind of like spazzing. We sitting there sipping, and there's something on TV, and he just started cursing and getting crazy. And we looking at him like, yo, what happened? Later on now to see him like now, he's a shell of what he is. So then when we was exchanging numbers, and I was like, yo, holla at your boy, man. I said, well, we people. And it's so funny, he spewed off my parents' number at the time when we was kids. And he remembered that, which I was like devastated and surprised that he knew that. And there's some certain things, but I say all that to say, even to the point of what you were saying about trying to save these kids out here, certain kids don't even want to, some want to be saved, some are ashamed to be saved. Some don't even know how to be saved. Like I said, you walking down the street and you see a cat, Rich, as your young kid, a young G out there, and you kick it with him. I don't know if you got 8 hours in that day to stay out there and kick it with him. And I've had people, I've bought the Chief back in the days and given it to the young kids on the block. I come back and I see the Chief in the street, you know what I'm saying?
You know why? Because they can't read it. Some of them can't read it.
I get that, but Rich, I feel like now it's like if I say A, you say B. If I say C, you say D. I can't keep giving excuses to something. Tell me you can't.
No, I'm not talking about excuses, Bill. I'm just talking about circumstances.
No, I understand that, but when does a person say to me, like, I give another example, young kid on the block, his whole family, drug dealers and everybody, right? Trying to hold Shorty down. He was like the last one, the golden child. He says to me one day, graduates from 6th grade. He says, hey, Billy, I graduated. You gonna give me some money? I said, what was your grade? He was like, it was okay. I said, wait a minute. So you want me to give you money for doing what you're supposed to do? I was like, get your little ass out of here. You know what I'm saying? Like come to me and tell me you was valedictorian or something. Tell me you got all A's. Don't tell me you just got out. I'm not going to reward bad behavior. I can't do that. Now, where's he at? He's a drug dealer on the corner, right? So some of us are products of our environment, Rich, too. Some of us can't shake that.
But you know what? I feel like it's my duty. It's my job. That's why I'm still on this planet. God has spared my life and my circumstances, my situations to do something. And I'm not saying this is for everybody to do, I just have the patience and I carve out the time to just have a conversation. Just a conversation that opens the door up to them being able to open up to me. Because you don't know what's going on in a person's life. Like you said, your guy, you had no idea that he was going through that, right? And the shame about it was going to stop him from coming to you. I remember when I was a kid, I had food stamps, right? Remember the food stamps? They came in the book and shit. And my mother used to send me to the store, and I was embarrassed to take them shits, right? Because I didn't want people cracking jokes about it. So I used to take that food stamp,
Yeah,
right?
but snapping on somebody with food stamps will get your ass whipping.
But listen, I used to take that stamp, look, and fold that shit up like this, real tight, real little. And then when I got to the counter, I would slide it to the lady like that, and she would take it and go like this, and open it up and pop it in the air so everybody could see it. I'm like, oh shit. But then I looked to my left and my right, and everybody had food stamps. Right?
Yo, you remember that? I'm gonna let you finish your story, but I'm gonna let you. You know, there was a time when people would buy food stamps for people because people were selling their food stamps.
Yeah.
So then it became a hustle. You know what I'm saying?
That was a hustle for you know when that whole system went south. You know, my mother was on public assistance when we came up here from down south, and she was ashamed to be on it. She didn't want to be on it. You know, public assistance, just like living in the projects, is supposed to be a stepping stone. It's supposed to be something that can help you get a leg up and then move on and do something better for yourself. But people get comfortable where they are. You know, they get comfortable with that bill being paid without them working for it. I mean, when we want public assistance, that shit was like the Claudine days. They used to come to your house like they was the police.
Right.
Look in your closet, look for signs of we couldn't have an iron, we couldn't have a telephone, we couldn't have a TV. You know, these things weren't considered to be necessities.
Right.
And if you had those, they would take that money out your check that you spent on that iron.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
And you couldn't. And back then, I don't know how the shit works now, but I remember it morphed into people getting rent checks sent to them, and then they would spend them and say, yo, I still need my rent paid. And they would have to pay it again, even though you spent it. And then it went to being direct to the landlord. But in New York City, and I guess anywhere for that matter in the United States, if there's some way a person can hustle, they con the system. But that's not what it was designed for, and makes it bad for the people that really need it when people do these con games, you know? And the people that really don't want to be on it, that go there because they have to, they don't intend on staying on it. They want to get in and out, you know? But some people find comfort in that lifestyle. That's why a lot of people wind up, when they go to jail, they want to go back, because when they come home, they're missing that hot in the cot. Somebody that's going to clothe them, feed them, and put a roof over their head.
And you know what's so funny?
And that's guaranteed if you go there.
But you know one thing too, and I know you still have your police connections, but the thing is too, I also know that I still get the reports. There's a time these are young kids committing a lot
this
of.
This is my mother. I got to take this.
Go ahead, everybody. Exactly. These are young kids out here committing crimes. So I mean, we have to understand what is really happening out here. I mean, we want to be. We know what the problem is. But, you know, when we start pointing these fingers and going back and forth with these people, how do we rectify that? Because it is, I mean, the age group for crime, like young kids are robbing young kids, right? Young kids will rob old people. I've seen young kids fight old people. You know, it's problematic in this world right now. People want to throw it on mental illness. I'm saying, you know, I always say I really felt back then in the day when we took away corporal punishment, it changed a lot in the people of color community. Because let me tell you something, that timeout shit is not working. It's not working, yo. You know what I'm saying? You know what timeout was when your parents spoke to you 2 times, and the 3rd time was when they timed out. That's when they had enough and they got the whipping. That behind. Let me tell you something. I got my ass spanked in Sloan's on 137th Street in Broadway, and I had never act up in a supermarket again. You know what I'm trying to say? So today, my father would be arrested. He would be a recidivist. You know what I'm saying? He'd be in jail all the time. I was a little hard-headed little rascal. You know what I'm trying to say? Shout out to everybody that's chiming in. Let me just read some comments back to go back. To these people nowadays, like Taylor said, shout out to everybody that's chiming in. Taylor said these young people nowadays are built different. You can't talk to them because they are lacking in morals. You can ask me how can I make my comparison? Read and watch the news. When I was a teenager, you never heard of kids bringing guns to school. It was unheard of for young people to beat down senior citizens. I totally agree with you. Taylor also said Bill and she said Bill and her and Robert said I hit it on the head. Brenda said the parents give their children too many choices. If our parents told us that we are going to the after school program or whatever the program, that's where we were going. You know, Mark, what's up, Mark? I see you in the building. Call, so it appears the media sensitized, sensational, sensitized the story. Um, yeah. Uh, Shout out to Dana. What's up, niece? How are you? Robert Rice is in the building. D. Wash, Mr. Wanda Weathers was in the building. What's going on? Earl, what's them happening? Lou, shout out to every Taylor. Also, so people make a career out of being in public assistance. If a person has any ambition, you can work your way out of the situation if you want. I totally agree with that. The average filing fee for a city job runs from $60 to $80. If you're on public assistance, you get a fee waiver to take few exams. I mean, and that's my point. You know what I'm saying? Uh, Brenda said everybody rich making food and he ain't sharing shit. You know what I'm saying? And then he got the audacity to leave his shit unmuted. Now, I just muted it. Brenda said there were children who were suffering from mental illness as a child and parents who were in denial. So it's not addressed and they get older and out of control. So now here we go. Let me ask you a question. See, because that's one thing I'm not a big component of just
mental
saying
illness.
of mental, I think right now that's like uh the parachute for everything. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the trap door. Now Brenda, don't get me wrong. I know there are some kids that got some issues. I've told a story in the past about some kid, that I one time I had we thought we was gonna take the little boy was gonna jump out the window on my ass. You know what I'm saying? So I get, but you know what? How about this? Let me ask everybody out here, and I'll ask you, what's up, cuz Kendra? I see you in the building. Um, what would you all say if your child that lives with you from the ages of 10, let's go to 10 to what are we gonna say, 22? Or because you're gonna say because living nowadays with your parents is it's one thing, and maybe there's a waiver if they're going to college, 24, 23, whatever the case may be, right? What if you said if the child committed a crime under your watch, the parents' watch, you get charged with that same crime, right? Now, don't get me wrong. If the child is a recidivist, like in school, everybody knows little Billy is a badass, and every teacher on the report card is saying this little rascal is a hot mess, and he's got arrested for stealing cell phones and running in the stores stealing. Every time you turn around, you get arrested for stealing groceries and things out of Dwayne Reed or ShopRite or CVS, whatever. So now, I mean, and the parent is saying like, yo, listen, okay, this little rascal is out of control. I can't control him. I don't feel like they should be reprimanded or punished. But I'm talking about the parent that never says anything about their child, and your kid is out there on the corner from to 12 o'clock at night, and you upstairs with your new boo or whatever you doing, hanging out with your girl playing cards, spades and shit or whatever, or smoking weed, and your kid commit a crime and robbing somebody with a gun. What about that person being charged with that same crime? What is that too extreme? What do you think? I bet you that little badass kid will stop then. I bet you because you get arrested.
Well, you know what? I mean, back when I was a kid, our parents partied with us. When I say that, a lot of the parties they had were in the house parties. House parties. They playing music. They had their liquor going on. They were dancing and all that. The kids were in another room, but they were there. And the older kids watch the younger kids. It's just a lot of stuff that can be done in a family unit that may not necessarily is being done that has to be addressed. But when you talk about, and I'm never going to take out the parental responsibility in any of this, but you can have situations where you just have kids that's bad seeds, you know, because I knew a family like that. You know, they had 4 kids, 1 daughter, 3 boys. All 3 boys, if you put the time together that they did in prison, they did about 100 years. And their mother and father were hardworking individuals. And they were big on discipline too. But these kids were just bad seeds.
So for the question out here, my man Carl said, shout out everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my co-host Richard Williams. And the show is sponsored by Ingram Taxes. It's sponsored by the Daily Arts Magazine. It's sponsored by Melba Wilson. It's sponsored by Leon Ellis. It's sponsored by Soft Illusion. It's sponsored by Reggie Wells Quality Sound. I meant to break that down a little differently earlier, but I apologize right now. I'm so all over the place. Carl said 60% of the inmates in New York City jails suffer from some form of mental illness. Carl, let me ask you a question. Is it really mental illness, or is what they using to say mental illness? It's just like I was having a conversation earlier with somebody, right? And we were talking about how inmates right now are treated in jail. Like if you go in jail and you say you're a Muslim, they don't give you, you get liberties. You know what I'm trying to say? Like you're not getting you get special diets and shit. You know what I'm saying? And jail is incarceration, man. You know what I'm trying to say? Like they got more liberties than anybody. Now I'm not trying to say make them animals and break them down. But wait a minute. You committed a crime. Because the last thing I want to hear about somebody that, God forbid, you hurt somebody I love. Because I don't even want to think about my mother because there's no jail. I'm coming in there just to get you. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to commit a crime so I can catch up to you. You know what I'm trying to say? But the last thing I want to hear is that a person that did a heinous crime to somebody is living good in jail. Everybody correct me if I'm wrong. How many people you see go to jail come out looking worse than they went in? They come out looking healthier, stronger, got a physique, they got a trade. If they're right, they got a trade. But there are people that come out of jail. If the worst thing they come out do, they come out fit. They bigger and they stronger.
But Bill, that's the people we see that make it out. Like my boy Corey, he got killed in prison, So, I mean, I've never done time. Furthest I got to is the precinct, But I've never done a bid. But I know people that have come out, like you said, physically they look like these specimens and all that. But mentally they ain't all there because when they come back out here, it's like they just came from Afghanistan or something. Because you witness this stuff in prison.
I have certain people that I rock with to this day that have been incarcerated, and they are doing great. So I can see, this is what I can't. And excuse me, everybody. Forgive me if I don't sound like I have a sympathetic ear, because the bottom line is I'm not trying to say I don't understand trials and tribulations. But I just think
it's not that I'm giving them a pass. Don't mistake what I'm saying is that I'm giving them a pass. I mean, somebody told me once that if a crackhead in New York decides that, hey, he wants to get out of New York so he don't smoke crack no more, they told me he's just taking his show on the road. Wherever he go, there he is. You can change your ground, but you can't change your sky. The person has to change.
But now let me just say something too.
Tribulation, whatever affects you through this trial or this arrest or whatever that is, if it's not affecting you in that kind of way that makes you want to change, you're gonna be that same person.
But then
you got guys that sold drugs in the street and they selling drugs in prison.
I get that, but now here's the flip side of that. I've spoken to the crackheads, and I know. And one time we had this deep conversation, and I didn't know he was a recovering crackhead. Right. And we were just talking, and I just told him how I felt. I said, yo, when a crackhead kills or robs from his mother and beats her up and stuff like that, I said he didn't love his mother. Because I said, crack ain't made you do that. You just did that because you wanted to do that. And you know what he said to me? And then he divulged to me. He said, yo, I used to be on drugs. And he's sitting, we were sitting with his mother and his family when I said that. And unbeknown to me, I didn't know that, but that was my personal feeling, right? With that being said, he said to me, "You're right." He said, he said, no matter what drugs I was on, there was nothing that could have caused me to hurt my mother because she didn't do anything to me. He said, I'll do something outside in the street before I hurt my mother. You know what I'm saying? So people, like I said, people are given so many different outlets and passes and stuff. And like I said, I'm not trying to make this a brutal world that we live. You know what I'm saying? But I just think it just.
But you're talking about a brother who had a good mother. I had a guy when I was working in a group home. I think I told you this before. The kid, my mother was going through a life-threatening surgery. So I was like, really, my mind was like not there. I shouldn't even been at work. And the kid went. I was supposed to get him to do something. He wouldn't do it. He said, "Man, fuck you. You know, suck my dick. Your mother's a hoe. Your mother. And when he saw that was a button he pushed, he kept saying it. I'm like, motherfucker, I will rip your head off. I tried to rip this kid's head off. It took every staff in that building to stop me from getting to this kid.
Mm-hmm.
My supervisor came, pulled me in his office, and he was like, "Yo, what the fuck is wrong with you?" He said, that kid got issues. I said, "I don't give a fuck." I was like, that nigga's not crazy. He knew what he was doing when he said what he said. And he said, "Yo, you taking this too personal." I said, "Personal? You don't talk about somebody's mother like that, man. My mother's going through this, and that." He said, "Let me stop you right there." He reached in the file, gave me his file. He said, "Read this shit." I said, "Read it for what?" He said, "Read it." I read the file, and in the file it said, this kid's mother used to sell him to guys for sex so she can get crack. When they got him from in foster care, he had been burnt over his body with cigarettes. He was molested by his mother, pimped him out. So he said to me, when he was talking about your mother, he wasn't talking about your mother. He was talking about his mother. And if you got a pedestal for your mother that you put her on, that's what you envision as a mother. He don't see mothers like that. He see his mother as mothers. So you don't get that respect for your mother because he don't respect his own. Mm-hmm. And that was trauma for him, that what he went through that put him in that mindset where he can talk like that and act like that.
But I mean, look, what I'm trying to say is I get it, but you know, how many of those stories? I mean, I'm not saying
it's that a lot of them. It's more than you know.
Okay, I mean, what do we do? I mean, you tell me, because I mean, you give me the
we got to hold the federal government, the city, the state, all of them responsible for these different organizations like mental health organizations. It's a full court press on identifying these issues, and it starts with the family, right? Like this guy whose son stole the pack of potato chips, right? And then, like the sister said, the cops took him home, but he turned that into wanting to sue the cops for how they dealt with him, right? For me, your kid coming in a supermarket or wherever he went in and he's taking something, that's something that parent has to address. And for him to redirect the focus on now the police instead of him as a parent is one of the problems. So now we got to put all of these safety measures in place. You got the parent, you got the people at the school, which are the teachers, the counselors that are supposed to talk to that kid to make sure that kid is getting treated well at home. And if there are any issues at home, and then call the parents in to identify what the kid is experiencing at school. What does that look like at home?
Okay. You know what's so funny? But let me just say this. Because I guess you and I will go back and forth on what we saw and what we experienced. Because I was in the school. I'll mention the school. I don't care. I was teaching at the Harlem Children's Zone, right? I was the martial arts instructor there. So the teachers would use martial arts as a discipline, not a disciplinary situation. Sensei so-and-so was bad, right? Okay, what'd you do, Shorty? I'm just using that name, Shorty. Oh, I was talking, okay. maybe I make you do a couple more push-ups, right? But then after a while, I saw everything was like, oh, the kid this, the kid that. Well, okay, wait a minute. Now, kid does something, and I've seen this multiple times. The father, sensei, yo, I love what you're doing with my son. He coming home, he keying all over the damn house and shit, getting on my nerves. I can't watch my show. You know what I'm saying? I tell him, but if you don't go to, you won't go to karate if you don't do your homework. Got it. See the father and the mother one day. What's going on? It was all tight. Why you're not coming to school? Can't come to school. What's up? If I come to school, I'm gonna tear that principal's ass up. What happened? She calls me one day, come to school, tells me my son's mad. They reprimand their child in front of the principal, spank him, whatever. The teacher calls BCW on him multiple times. Now, this is no disrespect to a person being white, black, Spanish, whatever, but the principal was white, right? Most of the kids in that school were African American, Latin, or African, or some kind of descent like that. How do you tell me how to reprimand my child? And when I do it, you call the police on me, BCW. That principal at one point had to be walked out by security to her car because every time she told on the child and the parent came in and reprimanded the kid, she was calling BCW on everybody that put their hands on the kid. See, so you're taking the powers away. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, I understand what you're saying to a point, right? I understand the reprimand, but you also got to understand that the way the law is set up, that principal wasn't supposed to witness that. I'm not saying don't reprimand your child, but take that motherfucker home and put that smack down on him. Don't do it in front of me because now you put me at risk. That's like I'm witnessing a homicide. Don't do that in front of me. Take his ass home.
I mean, that principal was old as dust. She probably got her ass beat, and now all of a sudden, now you want to be an agent.
The rules are different now, Bill. They ain't the same rules. When I went to IS-10, the teachers were allowed to hit you. They had rulers on their table, and they would whack you with them joints, man, and you take that, and there was no repercussions to them. But now we live in an age where the law changed, and they say, okay, if you see this, say something. You see something, say something. And if we find out you saw something and didn't say nothing, your ass is going to get brought on charges.
Well, then, Rich, I'm going to say this, and anybody correct me if I'm wrong, if you feel I'm wrong. Everything is going to just stay left. Because right now, when you got the powers of be, when you try to be that parent, and the powers of be that's taking that away from you, I've had friends that tell me when we talked about certain things, they say, don't say about a child can call the police in front of my kid because I don't want my kid to know that, or they heard that in school. So they kind of came at me the other day. What? Like, so listen, we talk about the system. You correct me. I mean, you was a part of that system, I think, to a certain degree. Do you think the system has failed our youth? You know what I'm saying? Because the bottom line is these laws right now are in place, have stopped us from being parents. Like I said, the timeouts are not working, B. They're not working. And nobody can tell me they are. You can tell me, but I don't believe you.
I got my ass whipped in school by my father on some shit I didn't even do. That shit had my mind devastated, man. That my father would trust what somebody else said on straight up because they was an adult and they straight lied on me. And he whipped my ass in front of the kids in the classroom. I would have preferred him take me home and beat my ass. But he did it the way he felt like he should have did it. And that shit fucked with me for a long time. My mother never did that. She whipped my ass. But that shit happened in the confines of the house, even at a time where it was all right for her to do it then. But she never did that. Because it wasn't about the punishment wasn't about embarrassing me. It was about teaching me to obey.
Well, Here, I give you another story. Like I said, we can go back and forth with it. I got my ass whipped in the school in front of everybody.
Yeah, that's what I just said. Same
No,
thing
but I'm
happened to
saying,
me.
but listen, what happened? Little Billy didn't act his ass up anymore. You know what I'm saying? Because the bottom line is, shit, my father went to school and threatened the teacher one time. You know what I'm saying? Because the bottom line is like, yo, I mean, that's a whole nother thing. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah, but little Billy did it. I didn't do it. But just for the simple fact that the teacher said that I did it for fear of what was going to happen to her, she lied on me.
but also too, I've got reprimanded from a heavy-handed father, a fast-hand father, that somebody said I did something and I got hit. And you know, it was like, yo, you don't believe anything I say? So my father was, well, why would they say it? I said, yo, you ask me why somebody would lie on me. I don't have that answer, Dad. All I know is that, yo, you touching me and you ain't even asked me about it. You just came,
So
you
how do
just,
you feel about that?
I didn't appreciate it. But I mean, he listened and then he had to be like, okay, you know what I'm saying? My bad. Because his thing was like, yo, why would somebody say something? When I presented my little case at such that young age, I guess he was like, all right, you know, like I'd say to anything, there are people that are wrong most of the time. There are people that could be wrong some of the time, but not everybody's wrong all the time. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you're just guilty because you know, like we all, anybody that's worked with the kids and stuff like that in any kind of environment or school or something like that, you like I'm going to and speaking in engagements, and you know what I've asked the kids in there? I said, listen, without a show of hands or without pointing fingers, I said, I bet you everybody in here knows what kid gets in trouble all the time. Which one is the knucklehead, right? Everybody, Jimmy. I said, don't call out nobody's name, right? Right? Now that kid has got the egg on his face. Oh, I ain't no knucklehead. No. I didn't call you a knucklehead. Your classmates did. Why? Because you're always getting in trouble, right?
But why is he always getting in trouble?
That's a whole nother thing. But
That
listen,
is the thing. That is the thing.
yeah, but listen, it takes nothing to shut up, to be quiet. You don't need to be spanked. You don't need. That's just following easy instruction. Now people want to claim mental illness. Yo, listen. Like I
Let
said,
me ask you something.
huh?
Let me ask you something. You
Sure.
familiar with the condition called Tourette's, right?
Absolutely.
All right. There are milder forms of Tourette's, and there are extreme forms of Tourette's, where a person will start cursing you out, motherfucker, suck my dick. You know, what's his name has Tourette's? The brother from Brooklyn,
Oh, Jamani Williams, you talking
Damani
about?
Williams. He has Tourette's, but he has
But
a mild.
he ain't calling out that though.
No, no.
There's
He
forms of it
has
though.
a milder form of Tourette's where he
Yeah.
gets ticks, like he ticks. You know, just like epilepsy. Everybody think epilepsy is when you have these crazy seizures and you start convulsing and No, seizures also at a mild state, because my daughter had it. She would just black out. She would just go into a space where it looked like to the teacher she was daydreaming, but she was actually having a seizure. So to my point, if a person is walking down the street and they got that extreme form of Tourette's and they're going about their business and they're in the company of people that don't know they have it, don't care that they have it, but identify it as being just straight disrespectful, and this motherfucker is crazy.
All right. So my point is that's an extreme though.
No, that's a reality that it exists, and that's just one form of a condition that, and I look at all these mental illnesses as a condition, not just you crazy. You have a condition. You got people that have what is that shit? Oh man, there's so many different conditions that people have, man, and they need to be treated for them. But I'm not barring them committing crimes or killing somebody or nah. I mean, you got to get what you get.
You give an excuse for everything. You give an excuse.
No, I'm just telling you that these things exist in people, and that there's not enough put into identifying it and treating it at an early stage, and putting people where they belong. Now, all of these shelters, they got a mixed bag of people with mental illness in there, with regular people that just fell on hard times and had to go to a shelter. But they sticking them next to this lunatic that hasn't been diagnosed or may have been diagnosed, but they just putting him in the wrong space. They got the same thing in prison. They got dudes in prison that's just crazy, and they know that they're gonna get that crazy pass, so they're gonna kill and stab, and people walk around on eggshells because this motherfucker simply don't give a fuck. Remember in the dust era when angel dust was the thing before crack was?
Yeah, I remember
how they had the dust ward in Harlem Hospital.
Absolutely.
And people was killing people under the influence of angel dust and beating the rap under that crazy thing. But legitimately, they smoked that shit and went crazy. And they dealt with them legally in that way.
So I have a question for you, and I'm going to let you think about this as I read some of the comments, right? You're the commissioner. You're sitting down with the mayor. You're the deputy of health and hospitals or school public safety. I mean, not public safety, but schools and stuff like that, mental illness. What would be your course of action? Because right now, the kids are off the chain, and what's been working is not working now. So we all know that. I think you hopefully you agree with that. It's not working now. So my question to you, and I'm going to, as I read these comments, I'm giving you time to think about what would be your solution. Because I think obviously if we sat at the table against each other, we might not agree on some kind of conflict and resolution. Because right now we understand what the problem is. So now we got to find out what's the solution. Let me just read some comments, Rich. Give me a second. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my co-host, Richard Williams. And this show is sponsored by Reggie Wells Quality Speakers. You can get them for $85. And if you mention Real Talk Chronicles, you can get them for $75. So right here, shout out to Enid Acacia being a part of the group. She says, we got some good comments right here. Let me go back right now. Okay. Taylor says, people make a career out of being in public assistance. I think I read that also. Brendan said, there were children who were suffering from mental illness as a child and parents were in denial. So it's not addressed and they get older and out of control. I think I read about that. But Enid also said, or mental illness is the scapegoat to put those people on meds to sedate. You know what I mean? Absolutely. Carl Gordon Patterson said, most mental illness is treatable. Enid says, some experience culture shock. Carl also, in the Black and Latino communities, it's a stigma. So mental illness is never addressed. Consequently, it spirals to drugs and crime. Colin Clark said, the only meat that they should serve in prison is pork. You just killed someone. You are getting a special diet in jail. But I agree with that. You don't listen. You don't come in here and tell me you really. I'll serve you pork chop every day, dog. That's what it is. I don't give a F. I really don't. And if you know whatever it is you don't like, you get it. You get it. You know what I'm saying? You know. So. Exactly.
That must be a cop.
No, Colin ain't no cop. But wait a minute, you kill somebody, and now you tell me what you eat. You filling out a menu like going to a wedding, bro. Listen, come on, knock it off. Like, listen, you eat to survive. How about that? You know, you didn't think about eating kosher or whatever, and when you was out there killing people. Don't think about that shit now. You know, I don't want to hear it. You know,
we live in a civilized society, Bill.
Come on, man.
Because you got other countries, like if you go to Turkey and all that, they don't feed you. Your people outside the prison got to come and bring you food.
Yo, listen. I think don't quote me on this, but I think that there was a time in a certain Asian country that if you committed a crime with the hand you committed the crime with, they cut it off.
They cut it off. Yeah, if you stole, they if you lied, they cut your tongue out.
I bet you if we practice that shit for 1 month, you see a lot of cats walking around.
Steal.
You see a lot of cats walking
got
around
accused
like
of it.
Or and not talking. Let me just say that.
You know how many black folks would be chopped up and killed, wrongfully accused?
Yeah, well, that white people too. I think everybody go to court, but we understand the system.
I don't think that justice is equal.
I totally agree with you on that, but I'm just saying everybody in the world. You know what I'm saying? Princetta said, "You're right, Richard. If their school personal staff responsibility to notify the authorities, if they witness abuse." Taylor says, "Have you talked to any teachers and listened to the horror stories they tell you when they encounter some of the parents?" Absolutely, Taylor. I totally do. Ina says, "So the system has failed the parents." Let's see. She replies to Taylor. She said, "Have you talked to any teachers and listened to the horror stories?" Okay. Ina said, "I agree with you as well because this is too is a problem." Stefani said, "Some parents are horror to deal with." Absolutely. Ina said, "There's a problem in all angles." Priscilla said, "The times are different. We fear strict parents." I don't. Listen, you pop your kid on the ass, you my dude, or do that. You know what I'm saying? Taylor said, "All the time, our parents were correct for some of the things they did, but the bottom line, they weren't correct for some of the things they did. But the bottom line is their guidance did us from doing things we were not supposed, no business had to do." Absolutely. Dana said, "Hey, what's up, niece?" Carl said, "Bill, you know I worked in correction for 20 years and I've become knowledgeable with mental illness." I totally agree with you. Then maybe next week we could bring you on. Everybody, Rich cooking and he ain't sharing shit. Let me tell you something. Yo, Carl, maybe one time, maybe you come on one Wednesday, we could chop it up, have you as part of the show. She said, "Oh, Taylor said, I'm still waiting for Reggie Wells to get back to me about the speakers." Let me tell you something. I'm going to type his name in right now because Reggie Wells, you need to hear this, you know? Let me just say this. Stefania said, "Did y'all see the story of the transgender woman that got the inmates pregnant?" Yeah, we did. I did. I don't even know what to say about that. Carl, you might have to come on the show and talk about that. She said, "New York State is the most liberal state in the country. Therefore, the laws are least harsh on criminals." Got you. I don't even know what to say about this, everybody. You know, especially like you said, you know, transgender people getting pregnant in the whatchamacallit in the jails. I mean, what kind of shit is that? You know what I'm saying? What we got? What we going to do? So, I mean, everybody, what would you do if you're okay, Rich? You can you answer this question? Or are you ready to answer this question?
Question.
If you sitting, you're in charge. You're able to sit down across from the mayor, and he asks you, "Rich, what would you do? How would you handle these kids out here today? What would be your stake in the claim?" Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you say handle these kids, I mean you got to.
Well, I mean, like kids are out of control, crime, schooling. Like, yeah, I mean, there's we've been here talking for right now an hour and 13 minutes. You don't remember nothing? You don't know what I'm talking about?
No, I'm just you just did a blanket statement. What would you do with these kids?
I know. I gave you a wide variety. I'm just
all of the kids aren't out of control. You know, the reality is all of them aren't. You know, it's a big highlight on the ones that are because they're extreme with it. You know, so there are so many kids that are doing so many positive things. You don't even hear about them. You don't hear none of those stories because none of those stories are sexy. You know?
Well, look, Rich, I agree with you that we do understand that there are good kids in school, right? But I know when I get asked to come to schools and speak, and I speak to the whole school, I'm not there to speak to the good kids because the good kids are just listening to me. It's the bad kids that I'm there to speak. And I always say this. What I do I wouldn't be able to do what I do and you do what you do if we only had to deal with good kids. You
Well, I'd
agree
be
with
doing
that?
something different. Yeah, I know. I don't agree with that because I'd just be doing something different. I'd be creating more and more things for them good kids to do.
Yeah, but
You
what
know?
I'm trying to say is that you wouldn't be speaking to bad kids. That's what I'm trying to
No,
say.
I'd be speaking to good kids.
And
They
you
need guidance too.
but yeah, but you
They
would
didn't
tell
get
good
there
kids.
by themselves.
Yeah, but you would tell good kids to keep up the good work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say?
But good kids have problems too. You know, everybody try to act like a good kid can't go through some shit. Some of these kids that are in this shit are really deep down good kids. They just get deeper and deeper and deeper in a hole. And they don't really know how to get out of it. You know? I mean, we thinking in the mindset of adults. When we were kids, we didn't think the way we thinking now. This shit wasn't as clear to us as it is now. So we like we talking like, you know, we was never kids and we never made the mistakes and we never had a certain mindset that needed tweaking and adjusting to get us to where we are. I'm not one that's willing to give up on no kid. When you become a grown ass man, that's a whole different thing. I'm not giving up on no kids. I don't give a fuck how bad you are. I'm going to do whatever I can. I'm not saying I can save you, but I want you to know that at that moment, when God creates a situation in your life where you're ready, I liken it to a drug addict, right? Somebody that's strung out on heroin, crack, whatever. You can talk your head off while that motherfucker is high, and he can tell you, "Oh, I gotta stop this shit." But while he's high, all that shit is bullshit. Because that's not him talking. That's the condition he's in talking. When motherfuckers come to me and say, "Yo, man, I need help with this, and that," and they high, I said, "Well, call me tomorrow when you sober, when you're not high, because I don't know you. The person I know, you holding hostage. So I want to hear from them. So when they sober, tell them to holler at me, because then I'll know it's genuine. Because what you telling me, oh, I'm fucked up, you just need a couple of dollars so you can get home, nigga. No, you just want me to feed the monster. So I gotta wait when the timing is right, when you cold sober, when you at that crossroad where you ready to receive help. Because a lot of motherfuckers need food or need water, but won't drink it, or won't eat it, or won't take it. Whatever you offer, they don't want it. But there's a point that they're going to reach in their life, God willing, it will be before they meet their maker, that they ready to change. I've seen some of the worst people that I thought would never change. And I've seen some people that I thought would never be that person become that monster. So, I mean, life is crazy. I mean, people go through twists and turns, and I try to treat people, all people, with the same respect and the same chance that God gave me every morning, a chance to do something different. And if you don't, it ain't because of me. And I don't want it to be because of me not extending a hand to help you, because I truly believe God left me here for that purpose. And the minute he ain't got no work for me, he calling me home. So listen, I want to work.
Got you.
And I'm going to continue to work and do God's blessings.
I respect that.
Right? And that's just where my head is. You know, I'm not giving up on nobody, because to give up on somebody is giving up on me.
Okay. I mean, listen.
And at the same time, I'm not condoning nothing. I believe you are supposed to own up to whatever you did. Right? Not and then the system gonna fail you. It happens, it's gonna happen. But you got choices. No matter where you are, you got a chance and a choice.
Now, let me just interject, because I'm going to let you close out on certain things, and we're gonna give us another 10 minutes, right? before you start eating, because I see you cutting and shit. So don't eat yet. Don't eat yet. Don't eat yet.
No, I'm not eating yet. I'm just
Okay.
getting my stuff ready, bro.
Okay, so I hear you and I respect everything that you just said. Some people, yeah, and I agree with you. There's some people that turn bad, and you be like, "Wow, what happened to you?" And then some people, you know, were bad and they turn good. I do agree that good kids can be persuaded, so you need to stay on them. If they're good, you got to keep them good. I totally agree with that. But right now, what and I don't, like I said, I don't know. I'm asking from the teachers that I speak to in these schools in our Harlem communities, FDA, Thurgood, um, the other one on 120 some school on the east side, all these schools that I've spoken to, right? I'm not called there to speak to the good kids. The good kids will listen to me, and I will speak to them because they're there, because there are good kids along with the bad kids, right? And I get the teachers that pull me to the side and say, "Yo, that one, this one, this one." I get the kids sexing and doing everything right out of the sun, and the teachers tell me, their hands are tied. So I guess let me just say this: if the teaching community tells you that their hands are tied, and we're gonna we're gonna bring some teachers on that maybe they're retired teachers or they're in the last year and they don't care, you know what I'm saying, without jeopardizing their careers. Uh, like so, okay,
Bill,
well,
you got teachers. I worked in the school system for 35 years and I retired from it.
right,
And I work with all kinds of teachers, right? And this is one thing I've learned about teachers. You got certain teachers that when they took the job, they took it with the understanding that they're going to come in and just teach this curriculum, this lesson. That's it. They don't want to deal with personalities. They don't want to deal with none of that. Kids as individuals, their learning styles, none of that. You got teachers that learn this one way and they teach that way. And if you don't learn the way they're teaching, they consider you stupid, right? You got teachers that have they don't even like our kids. And they hide behind a mask. And they only identify good kids as the kids that do exactly what they tell them to do and not question them, not challenge their teaching techniques or any of that. And anytime that happens, they deem that kid as a problem. And they will trigger that kid with words to make them act out, do certain things to make them act out, and then create that situation. And I worked in the situations long enough to know that. I had a kid in a GED program, and teachers considered this guy to be a good kid, right? And I knew the kid, he was cool and all of that, but one of the teachers came to me and said, "Yo, Mr. Williams, something's going on with this kid. He keeps talking to somebody out the window," because we were on the first floor working in the CBO. We were doing GED prep. So he sat in the back next to a window. So he was talking to somebody out the window. So I went in and I said, "Yo, man, you can't do that, man. Tell them they got to talk to you later." He said, "Oh, okay, Mr. Williams, no problem." Now, this kid was a good student. He was good. Yo, he did his work. So then the teacher came back and said, "Mr. Williams, I don't think he's just talking to people." I said, "What do you mean?" I went outside and I looked outside where he was talking to people. This motherfucker had a line. He was selling crack out of the classroom through the window. He's pitching through the window. But this motherfucker's grades, he's the best student in the class. But this motherfucker was hustling outside the window. Is he a good kid? Because
no.
he had other teachers that didn't fuck with him because he would never cause no problem. He never challenged them, you know. But was he a good kid?
No, hell no, he ain't no good kid if he's selling crack.
Out the window and he must have had some good shit because he had a long ass line.
Listen, let me tell you something. I'm gonna tell a story, then I'm gonna read the comment from Naomi. Right? I never forget. I was teaching a little kid in class. My little man. I don't know where he's at today. I'm not gonna say his name because he might be watching now, but I mean I doubt it. So he come to class and he was talking and talking and talking and talking. So I'm like, okay, be quiet. You disrupting class. You did da. So what do? I had the kids start sparring because I said, yo, your little ass don't want to shut up, right? So I'm like horning. Everybody saw Enter the Dragon. I was like, come on. I was flipping everybody on this little ass, right? And he started whipping everybody's little ass, right? I said, oh, my man can fight. So what did I do? Now I made him one of my assistants. That slowed him down a little bit from the mouth because he knew he couldn't beat me. So now he's my assistant. So now I was like, yo, you was kind of you nice with that. He was a little tired, but he was putting work in. You know what I'm trying to say? So now he helped me train the class. Sometimes you got to find out your balances and how you got to check and balance of these little kids. I get it. Hold on, let me read a question before we get out of here. Naomi said, did you see the video of the black student recording a white teacher going on a rant about students who don't want to study and saying they turn out to be a statistic? He wound up resigning the next because someone said what he had said, racist overtones or something like that. You know, that leads me, I didn't see that. If you get a chance, you know, inbox me and send me that so I can bring that up next week. But one thing before we get out of here too, and we're going to revisit this conversation, but in closing, did you see about, I think, Michelle Obama's brother, I think his name is Curtis Robinson, and his wife Kelly, the teacher made them dress up and reenact the whole class, like something about the slave trade or something. And the teachers were like the slave masters, and they was hard on the kids and stuff like that. Some crazy stuff. I'll make sure we got to get Stats back to make sure. Yeah, Brenda, Stats, he up in the rocks with his kids. He's there on vacation, so he took him out, and he deserves a little kid day.
Yeah, he took him up to the woods so he can have that talk with his kids that we have with ours.
Exactly. Yeah. Watch the deer. So, Rich, in closing, give the people some love. And you still didn't answer my question on what you would do with these kids. So I'm gonna give you a chance to think about
that. You didn't give me a chance. I didn't answer that.
No, you didn't answer that. You told me, you gave me another lot of different scenarios.
Listen, man, there's okay. All of these organizations and programs and police department, fire department, mental health, all of them are all underfunded for the population that we're servicing in New York City, right? We need more money to pay for professionals that deal with this type of thing. We need facilities that can accommodate these people and other people like that, and students that so they can do better and excel in school. They need to change the curriculum inside the public school system where it reflects the culture of the kids that they're servicing. They need to teach them modern day skills. Like when we were coming up, it's different. Everything is tech now, you know. Everything is Wall Street investments, and I mean, we didn't learn that. Well, I know I didn't learn the stock market when I was in high school. You know, I didn't know that language. I didn't know investing. I didn't know how to financial literacy and all that when I was in. That wasn't taught to me when I was coming up in school. We were taught to go to school, get education, and go to college. Don't even go for the trades. They was really pushing that for the Italians and the Jewish and the Irish kids to get trades, and they went there instead of college and got jobs and paid enough for them to pay for their kids to go to college. But this city is underfunded. You know, they talk about all of this money that's coming in, really, and when it's really just a drop in the bucket when it comes to really servicing all of the different things that makes this city run. The transit system. You see the kind of the trains they got in Paris and in China. I mean, not China and Japan. They got state-of-the-art shit. You know, a person couldn't get pushed on the subway in Japan. There's so many different things that this city can do if it was properly funded. But it's not. And like we talked before, the only money that comes in here is through chaos. There's there's money in chaos. Every time one of these kids or anybody that goes crazy or does something crazy, breaks a law, you know, that kid that stole that pack of potato chips, the money that's going to be spent to process him, is that worth a bag of potato chips? You know how many people get to eat off of that transaction of this kid getting arrested? From a bag of $2 potato chips. So all I'm saying is it can be done with the powers that be invest in that. They making money other ways. They making money through the prison system.
Well, you know, one thing too, I agree with you, but one thing too, today is potato chips, tomorrow's purses, right?
Not if the things are in place that it never actually gets to that.
Now, Ken, not everybody did something bad in their past.
See, I don't want to deal with the bodies floating down the river. I want to deal with the bodies before they fall in it.
I get you.
So if we stay on what do we do with the bodies, I don't want to be in that conversation. I want to be in the conversation, how do we prevent them from falling in there?
Well, I mean, you know,
not that there's not a place for that, for the grave diggers. There's work for them. But I don't want to be in that line of business. I want to be in the other line of business. So not disrespecting those that got to do what they got to do. I'm doing what I do. You do what you do. And I respect all parties.
So in summation, it's fair to say, like you said, you want to deal with the solution. Once they get out of control, call in that other team.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be a point when Richard Williams is going to have to say, there isn't anything that can be done with it.
Yeah, exactly. And at that point, it's not even my call to make because I'm not giving up. So somebody's got to pull me and say, nah, this is not your jurisdiction anymore. They crossed that line. So I don't want to be in my area saying I didn't have enough funding. I didn't have enough of what I needed to do my job. Because if I had all of that, if I had everything that I needed to do my job and I still couldn't help that, and it went past my jurisdiction, I got to back up.
Yeah, but so you know, that's something that we'll definitely pick up on the way next week, because the bottom line is when you say and because I want you to say that I had all this. So when does Richard say, yo, I had the funding? Because this ain't about funding anymore. You got everything that you wanted. Because like I said, you're talking to the mayor. The mayor says, Richard, I'm gonna give you whatever you asked for. And now we're losing, not all, because I'm sure what you're saying will rectify and change a lot, and hopefully some, and hopefully a lot. But what about the ones that it doesn't? Because
listen, they got the violence disruptors and the credible messages out there. Now the question is that working?
What is the violence? I don't know what that is.
That's the violence disruptors and the credible messages. Those are the organizations that the city, de Blasio, was giving money to. You know, I used to say cool.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a whole other conversation. We don't even want to stay on that. Because I can go on the record and say what she's doing is not working.
Well, again,
you agree or disagree?
That's the thing.
But do you agree or disagree?
I don't see it. I don't see any effect that she's having. I don't see it.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say.
And when I said that, she said it's not for us to see.
Yeah, okay. Exactly.
So there's no oversight to that, you know.
Exactly.
Because all I see is showing up at the hospital after somebody gets killed or shot, trying to convince, and this is what she said, they try to talk the persons out of retaliating. And I think we talked about that. I don't know anybody that I can go to after their loved one's been killed or shot and try to convince them not to react, especially when they're not telling the police who did it and they know who did it and they just keeping it to themselves.
And I'm going to say this. There was a time when I think she threw it. I don't know if she threw it personally. I think she did the cookout on 143rd, right there between Lenox and Fifth, and it went crazy, and they was shooting and all kind of stuff, and it was her that was supposed to be the spearhead. Then all of a sudden now you calling for the police. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on now, you getting funded, you getting money. De Blasio writing her a check, to my knowledge, correct?
Well, not anymore.
Well, no, not anymore. But I'm just saying, at that time, for 8 years, she was getting paper.
Yeah, but you do have some organizations, like I know a brother, this guy named Beloved, him and his brother, they got an organization over there in the church on the 124th Street, and they do good work. I mean, I've seen some of the work they do. They dealing with a lot of guys that formerly incarcerated, and they're trying to keep them out of the street. I mean, you do what you can do, but you can't claim that you got a pill that can stop all of this shit from happening, because that's not the way it works.
I'm just gonna read this comment and we're gonna get out of here because Rochelle, what's up, sis? She said the centers need to open PAL, YMCA's after school programs for children. Right. Ferdinand, what's good, brother? My man Lee is in the building. Enid said there's a 127 pen in Brooklyn doing wonderful things for the kids. We need to have it at all 5 boroughs. Okay, I didn't even know anything about that. Taylor said Japan doesn't have the crime rate that we do here. Put money into minimizing the crime rate, then we can look forward to improvement. Like Enid replied, she said the laws are stricter there too. Well, like my man Carl said earlier before we getting out of here, he said, listen, the laws for New York State is probably one of the most liberal laws when it comes to crime and stuff like that. And maybe that might be a problem. Not, listen, this ain't about, Republicans and Democrats and stuff. But like I said, I mean, everybody, listen, I don't know any place in life that aren't rules and regulations you have to follow. And if you don't abide by those rules and regulations, Rich, you play ball. That's organized, right? I played sports. Everybody goes to work. You late too many times, something's going to happen, and then a lure maybe getting terminated. You steal.
Well, it depends on who you playing for. And how good you are.
yeah. I mean, but still, there are liberties that go with everything, right? But the bottom line is that just goes with the thing. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my man Richard Williams. Rich, give him some positive affirmation. We're gonna pick this conversation up next week, everybody. Please be careful out there. Stay safe. Appreciate the love. Real Talk Chronicles. The sponsors: Daily Arts Magazine, Ingram Taxes, Reggie Wells, speakers, quality speakers, Soft Illusions Art Gallery, Melba Wilson, Soul Food Restaurant on 114th and Frederick Douglass, Leon Ellis Chocolat Restaurant on 120th and Frederick Douglass. Also, too, Harlem Underground. Rich, give us some love before we get out of here, bro.
Hey, listen, man, all I can say is do what you can where you are. Reach out and talk to some of the young brothers and sisters out there in the community in which you live in. Don't wait for something to happen. Just stop them and talk to them and find out what's going on with them. You're not going to be able to do that to everybody, but just find one. If you can save one, you did your job.
And everybody, if you try to stop and talk to one, I'm just being funny right now. If you stop and talk to one little kid and he slapped the shit out you, call Richard Williams.
That's right. Call me.
He the one who told you to do it.
I'll tell you what you did wrong.
Good night, everybody. We talk to you.